lads, give your heart and soul. Run lads, shoot lads, give us all a go. Run lads, shoot lads, you can do it yet. Come on Newport County, oh, bang it in the net.
Hello everybody, welcome to Taff's Word, and before you say anything, yes, I know I have not done anywhere near enough of these, but I promise you I'm going to be doing regular ones over the summer as and when we're signing players, as and when the squad is being built on and the pre-season is going to kick off. There's a lot that over a pre-season we can talk about. There's a lot that I could have talked about during the season. To be honest with you, it was always really a time thing, and whenever I put these videos out, I want to put over a particular message, and I never really felt the message I would have had at the time would have been right to put across. But now the season's over, I can really reflect on the season as a whole. Now, a lot of people who do this kind of video would have had a script or something and say, right, I want to mention this thing, then this thing, then this thing. Now, I'm going to just wrap the season up with some words truly from the heart, I think, and I'm going to be honest, from the beginning of the season, my hopes were very, very high because I'd seen some really great football from the James Rowbury team of the season before last. Even though we didn't end the season well, I felt as though the performances were reasonable enough at the time, but the cutting edge just wasn't there. And I thought, Omar Bogle, Aaron Wildig, and the other signings that we made, I thought that's where the cutting edge is coming from. As much as we didn't really replace Azaz and Cooper. I know it's difficult to replace players that aren't really yours, but we all thought that, with the presence of, an experience of Wildig in the middle, and that we just thought we had the players that would take us to another level. And the players weren't obviously the problem, is the system, and the system failed us miserably at the beginning of the season. And to be honest, I think we gave him enough time to get things right, but the record at the end of the season last season and the record at the beginning of this season, it was inevitable. And as much as I like James Rowbury, he was always going to lose his job. Now, what happened in between Rowbury and Coughlin was pretty embarrassing, really. We didn't really even have a footballing person taking over. I know we had Darren Kelly took over. Personally, I'd have put Mark O'Brien in charge. He may have actually tried to put a reasonable team. I think Darren Kelly just went through the motions, and we lost at Crawley because of that. He's not at the football club anymore, so that pretty much speaks volumes. During the season, we obviously had a cup run. I think one of the bitter things James Rowbury would have been upset about is not being able to face off against Brendan Rodgers. I think that would have been a bit of a feather in his cap, win, lose or draw. Being able to face off against Brendan. It was Graham Coughlin's opportunity that was. We lost the game, as expected, but it was a great night out. We didn't progress in the FA Cup. That was obviously disappointing, but that's a couple of seasons now where we haven't been able to amount to having a reasonable cup run. Derby County coming to town, though, was always going to be a tall order because they were a championship club before, and they were in good form. I know they missed out on the playoffs in the end in League One. But at that time, they were seemingly dead certs, or even, a good shape for top two at that particular time. And McGoldrick, who obviously bossed the game for them, was obviously the difference on the day. But at least we had a reasonable crowd, with, I believe it was a TV game, wasn't it? So we had that. Away from the Cups and the league. Now, there was a lot of fear of relegation. Personally, I felt we had the quality to divert away from relegation as the season progressed. I know there's a lot of people fear-mongering, but there were some people genuinely worried. I always reiterated to them, look, there's no problems here. We're going to be fine. We were fine. We probably could have been even more fine. A few disappointing results under Coughlin, yes. But what you find with Coughlin is some of the lesser performers were picking up their game. We were trying players in different positions and it was working well, especially for Aaron Lewis in central midfield. I thought he took on that role very well. He seemed to be a bit of a natural, in fact. Obviously, the signings were good over January. I thought McNeil and Kavanagh, there's maturity to come to their games. There's cutting edge to come to their games. But there's obvious talent between the two. McNeil especially. I thought Baker very similarly, but I thought Baker had more effective performances than the other two. And Harry Charsley, you could tell he's played in this league plenty of times before now and has been good in this league in the past. So when you look at it, at some of the players that we got for next season, we got players who pushed promotion in this division. In previous clubs that they've played for. So personally, I think we got a good spine of a team, although we're still none the wiser on what's happening with the likes of Priestley Farquharson, Cameron Norman, Mickey Demetriou, Aaron Lewis. They're the four key men. I think we've got a few players who we've offered contracts to, Scott Bennett being one of them as well. What'll happen with them, like I said, remains to be seen. I feel Scott Bennett will sign. A lot of people think Mickey's gone, but there's always a different club for a different rumour, so you can't really give any of them rumours any real credibility. There's rumours now of championship clubs looking at Cameron Norman. That's a bit more believable. Aaron Lewis, I think, will sign again. Whether that's wishful thinking or not, I don't know. Priestley, though, now there's very, very conflicting things with Priestley. Apparently, that night out on the piss that they had, where they ended up in Bar Amber, Priestley was telling fans he wants to stay. Is there a financial issue with the club? The club cleared up any rumours of mismanagement of finances, rumours of us being in any debt. So I've got nothing to worry about there, but there will be an AGM soon or an open meeting. Let's see what comes out in that. John Pratt joined the board after being vocal over County Chat, saying he's contacted the board. He haven't had any contact at all. Then all of a sudden Joe Crocker got involved, and all of a sudden then, after about a month or two later, John Pratt was announced as a co-opted member of the board. I've got hope that John will get involved to a degree where he'll help the club make money. He'll be able to push commercial and business ideas to the club, how to maximise revenue streams and things like that. I'd imagine that's the kind of thing he's done with companies in the past. He's a very successful person. We've already got the likes of Peter Madigan and Mark Crook involved. So we've got 3 business heads involved, and a lot of people have been calling for that. A lot of fans saying, "Oh no, we need businessmen running our club." Well, we've got 3 of them now. But the fact is, we need to keep hold of, a fan ownership with the club. Well, we are fans owned. We got 3 businessmen on the board who are all supporters of the club, and we've got these fans who are giving up their time. So have we got the right model? Well, we voted for the hybrid model, and that was the, one of the quickest things they swept under the rug, because if that was voted for by the majority of the fans, I believe a majority of about 80% voted for that model. That's exactly what they should have been pushing for. Departures of the club, we obviously saw Kevin Ward, Gavin Foxall and Nigel Stevenson all leave the club. Kevin Ward, it was quite public why, because of his new role with Newport Live. And Gavin Foxall and Nigel, not so much. I know Nigel was on long-term sick. It probably is something to do with that. But Gavin, for someone who was as involved with the club as he was, I don't know whether it was the continuing criticism he was getting or whether there was something else. We don't know. Probably never will, to be honest with you. But, there's a lot of change. We've got, I can't remember his name, Chris something. Why can't I remember his name now? The new sporting director. Experienced, got contacts. sounds good. So as the season has progressed, you can see changes off the field. Now, I'm going to dive into the changes on the field. Now, you could see improvements of individuals, most notably Omar Bogle, who finished the season very strongly for us, scored a fair few goals. Took his tally into the, I think, was it 19 or 20 goals he scored? I may be wrong. Please feel free to correct me. But what was abundantly clear under Coughlan is he brought those players together in a way James Roby wasn't. I think James was more of a tactical head. Coughlan is more of a rounded, mix of man manager, tactics, training. He's got the right assistant, which again I think Roby didn't have. I think Carl Serrant was a mate. He may have put him in place because of him being his mate. Maybe not so much because he had the ability to help him bring the team on. Who knows? But the thing with Joe Dunn is you can tell he knows his stuff. Like we had with Wayne Hatswell. Flinney was the main man, of course, but Wayne Hatswell was the assistant and a very effective one. Joe Dunn seems to definitely take that mantle with Mr. Coughlan. And Mr. Coughlan himself, Graham, what a guy. Always acknowledging the supporters, making sure the players acknowledge the supporters. We can't ask for more than that as far as fan interaction is concerned. But then what we want is effectiveness on the field. And he certainly achieved that. As the season come to an end, you could see the improvement in the team. There's still work to be done. But the difference now is Coughlan's going to have a pre-season to work on with those players. Now, you've got the ones who are going to be staying. And, yeah, like I said, there's a decent spine of a team there. One of the other players we've offered contract to is Nick Townsend, of course. I was a bit disappointed with some of the young players who've been released. Lewis Collins, not as much, but I was hoping his loan spell to Torquay would have brought him on because we've seen glimpses of a very good League Two striker in Lewis Collins. I mean, he was a starting striker the season we nearly got promoted, so there's got to be something in him. But for him to go, I was a bit disappointed, but not as disappointed as the others. Now, Caradogan, Twamley, Woodowis, they've all been knocking at the door of the first team. And, I mean, Graham himself has even said that Caradogan and Twamley have impressed him. So, I don't get the reasoning behind letting them go. I can't imagine, because they were young, I can't imagine it would have cost an awful lot of money for them to have remained at the club. Maybe he saw things in them and thought, right, I'm going to drop you in with the first teamers now in training, and up the ante on you. And maybe there was things then he saw which he thought, well, actually, maybe I was wrong about these guys. Maybe they're not quite up to scratch. But I don't know. Maybe if they'd have had the opportunity to have played a bit of first team football, which I believe they would have gotten if it wasn't for the stupid rule of them not being able to play for us again after playing for somebody else. I think that's a daft rule. If you're coming back to your parent club, you should be able to play for your parent club. I can understand not being able to go out on loan again, but to not be able to play for your own parent club, I think that's a bit of a shoddy rule, and that needs looking at. But they've departed the club now. There's nothing we can do about it now. But I wish them all the best. Talking about young players who are staying with us, I believe Kiban Rai is contract with us again for next season, as is Harrison Bright, who are good-looking prospects. I'd like to have seen Bright a little bit more during the season, to be honest with you, because I thought there was something about him. But I'd imagine we'll see a fair bit of him in pre-season anyway. You've got Evan Ovendale and Codwalder, Harrison Page. We're talking youngsters who've made it onto the bench in recent weeks. The final weeks of the season. Apparently, Codwalder and Ovendale have been out on trial with other clubs, big clubs. Obviously, wish them all the best. But if they do move on from our academy, hopefully we get some form of compensation for them. The more money we get, the more budget we can give Graham for the season. So yeah, I think the most important thing for me is the gradual progression and improvement of the performances, individual performances, the trimming down of individual errors. All of that was great. I believe the things that need working on are the decision making at pivotal moments, whether it be the final ball, when to shoot or pass, and in the defending, when to go in for the tackle or when to jockey or hold the player off and limit their space. There's plenty of things that they can work on in the preseason that can improve those areas of the game for us. So hopefully we'll see that. But I suppose now what we're going to be looking forward to is just making signings, and at the moment we haven't made any. It is only in the middle of May, so I'm not going to expect anything straight away. But it'd be good to get our business done as early as possible so these players can get to know each other, get a full pre-season together. Sorry, the yawning is coming. I don't know where. Oh, yeah. So hopefully, you know, they'll get to know each other better. We'll get a fuller pre-season together. And I think the loans are going to be crucial for us again. I mean, you look at the progression of players who've been on loan at us. Clubs are going to want to send their players to us on loan. Yeah, and I think I'd like to see Baker and McNeil back if that's a possibility, although I do feel as though their parent clubs are going to want to send them to a club in League One next season. Let's hope not. Let's hope that they are willing to send them to us again. We'll see. But I've got a lot of reasons to feel optimistic for next season. Like I said, Graham Coughlin has improved on the field. He's pointing out to the club where we can improve off the field. He's not afraid to speak his mind, and he's happy to do it publicly, which is good. I hope he doesn't get reprimanded by our board for doing that, because sometimes you need to be told, and in the harshest way possible sometimes, because the harsher lessons are the ones you learn, the better. So hopefully, you know, they've allowed him to speak his mind and they listen and not retaliate. But we'll see. Anyway, like I said, I've rattled on for about 17 minutes. I've wrapped up a lot of sort of the things I've been wanting to say during the season. I hope all of the rumour mongering, I hope all of the negativity is quashed quite quickly. I hope the people who are sharing all this, whether it's true or crap, or whether somebody's got agendas to dismantle the club, or whether they want to upset things, whether they want to see the back of the board, but what they don't realise is what they're doing is at the detriment of the football club. But there are some people who have shared some rumour type stuff or negative posts, but they also say the good things when they're good. You know, they'll praise the team when they played well, they'll criticise the team when they played bad, and they'll call out what they think is wrong with the football club. Maybe they could tone it down a little bit, but you know, I think this person might know what I'm talking about. But at the end of the day, everyone's got the right to an opinion and the ability to publicly speak their mind. So if it's on their mind, they're going to share it, whether it be on County Chat or some other platform. So, you know, we got to listen, and whether it's true or not will remain to be seen. I just hope that, you know, there's nothing really for us fans to worry about for our football club now. You know, I hope there's optimism for the pre-season now, and we start making the right signings. We'll see. Anyway, thanks for listening. 18 and a half minutes of it. You know, for those who've made it here, thank you. For those who haven't, you're not going to hear this, so it doesn't matter. But drop in a comment, drop in a like. Give me ideas of things you want me to talk about, whether they're about Newport County or other football. I still got the Taff's word on football as a thing. So the other thing as well, sponsors for next season. We are actively looking for anyone who wants to sponsor the channel for next season. We've got new members who've joined the administration team and create a team for YouTube and TikTok. So YouTube, obviously TikTok, I don't think we can really do much with, but with YouTube especially, we can have sponsors. So if anyone knows of any business owners who may be interested in getting a bit of exposure through this channel, then feel free to drop us a message or an email, and you know, we'll try and negotiate some kind of sponsorship deal. There we go. Thanks for watching, everybody. Cheerio for now, and as always, up the county.